Hey, we just wanted to take a brief few minutes at the beginning of our show to thank Miuria for his contributions to both the anime and the manga world. Uh, Berserk has grown to be one of my favorite mangas as I've been reading through it, and it's truly a loss for any fan of manga or art in general.
I also agree. I'm very sorry to hear about the loss of Miura. He was very talented at what he does, and what he made is the major work that he made is truly an inspiration across multiple platforms and many generations. And I just hope that it just keeps getting shared amongst new people and bringing in new fans because it is truly amazing.
The the sexy snake bitch.
Yeah, that
And
snake girl's
more
pretty cute.
importantly, so the demon's 100 years old or something. And,
Okay.
I don't know how old the snake is, but I know she's old enough. But you get a little risky when you see that mage, but they don't leave wonder up to that. You find out that in fact she is, she's 18. So
Oh,
you don't have to worry about, nothing weird there.
all
No
right.
shame.
Excellent.
It's,
Well, we have absolutely no shame here on the Antibodies podcast. Welcome to episode 2. I'm Alex, and joining me today is...
I am Jacob.
Yeah, and this week, we watched Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. We watched part 1 and part 2. But other than that, what have you been up to?
This week I took some time to dive into Mage and Demon Queen for the first time. Really good. Been looking forward to it for a while, but needed to finish up Tokyo Ghoul. Glad that one's out of the way now.
Yeah, how'd
Cross it off the list.
How was that ending?
It was okay. I liked it. I thought the middle was a little boring. They did way too much stuff that apparently isn't even going to matter until Tokyo Ghoul Re, but they had one cool character development thing happen in the middle of the series. So I'll say that was pretty decent.
Cool.
But yeah, Mage and Demon Queen. Ooh, you've got comedy, you've got some good action, you've got some drama, some romance.
Oh.
And you've got sexy demons, sexy snake girls, sexy mages, everything you could ever want. It's really just, there's a lot in there for you're getting a lot of value with that one.
Yeah, I'm still not hearing sexy spider girl, so you haven't totally sold me, but I'm probably gonna check it out, honestly. After we get done with this.
It is Mage and Demon Queen. It is not Monster Hentai Dungeon, unfortunately.
It'd be a lot cooler if it was. Okay, but other than Mage and Demon Queen and finishing Tokyo Ghoul, I guess sounds like you're kind of being teased. Did you do anything else this week? Read anything else? Watch anything else? Saw that you.
I got a little further into Dorohedoro and Attack on Titan. Doing both of those.
Yeah.
So you didn't get to get as far into Attack on Titan season 3 as I would have liked. Had to sit through a lot of episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure this week.
Well, you got to watch JoJo's this week. It was.
I could have done without a select few episodes at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
We will. Yeah. We can discuss those a little later on. But what about you? What have you been catching up on this week?
Honestly, been a pretty slow week for me. I did read the new Black Clover chapter. I guess because I'm just a shonen bronin or something. But gosh, Magna is just really really making me proud out here. He's really showing up, doing his absolute best, and it's such a joy to really watch him do what he's been doing. And then I also read the new chapter of Ghost Reaper Girl, and that was also very enjoyable for me. It was a nice little fight scene. Kind of excited to see if we're going to get like a backstory or flashback for Kai, because it seems like he's got some stuff going on. But other than that, I haven't really had too much time to watch any anime or anything, which is a little disappointing. But I know that the spring season's about to finish up, so I'm gonna probably binge all those seasonals here in a little bit.
Yeah, we've got some good ones coming out soon.
Yes, very much looking forward to it.
We had 86 that I was looking forward to finishing, and what was that other one that I asked you about?
To Your Eternity?
Is that what it was?
I believe so, yeah. No, I'm definitely going to watch that. I've been hearing a lot of things about 86 recently. Pretty interested. Sounds very Hunger Games-y. Which I like the Hunger Games. Is
that what it's about?
It's from what I've gathered, but it's also a mech show, and God, do I love giant robots. I really, really love giant robots.
Oh, it is a mech show? I read nothing of the plot. I saw As Death look-alike, and I was on board.
I mean, if you're a simple man, you're a simple man. I heard giant robots, and I was on board.
I like the sexy blue hair lady.
Hey, I respect your choices here. But as we mentioned, we did watch part 1 and part 2 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Did you have any prior experience with the show?
I had seen both part 1, part 2, and parts of part 3 before. I did not finish part 3 due to just how long it was. I'd never found time to finish it out. I'll probably be getting to that eventually. But
oh, for sure.
My prior experience, I went into that one, like I do with most shows, completely blind about what it was about or the structure. And my immediate impression, both when I watched it originally and now, was just I could not figure out if how this show was structured, if that was satire or if that was a serious, like, purposeful writing choice. And both times I had to Google to check on that, and I found out that it was not satire at all, and that this is all meant to be taken completely seriously to the fullest extent. And it really wowed me to see something do that, because other than I haven't seen many things where you get this much like exposition and explanation and like these completely like otherworldly type of poses and like fighting styles and stuff. You could say they are quite bizarre.
Yes, it's quite a bizarre adventure to watch this show.
But that was my biggest takeaway both times. I do have some stronger opinions that I had both times, but I can get into those a little later to save for the middle of the show. But what about you? I know that you've been pretty big on JoJo's for a while.
Yeah, well, JoJo's is probably most definitely my favorite anime series of all time. I genuinely love everything about the anime, including the needlessly long exposition and the weird poses, and just the fact that it takes itself so seriously, but at the same time is insanely ridiculous. It's a wonderful experience. I've watched part 1 probably about 2 to 4 times. Because if I want to rewatch JoJo, I just start back from the beginning, and then part 2, watch that whole thing definitely at least 6 times in its entirety. I say like 6, which I know is more than the part 1 rewatches, But every now and then, I just really miss Caesar. So I just go back and watch the stuff with Caesar.
Yeah, and I mean, I would also, if I were going to rewatch, just skip on the part one because
I don't know.
Jonathan's just the worst JoJo.
That's an opinion. But we can.
I mean, I haven't gotten to Josuke or
Giorno or
Part-
Jolene or Johnny.
I have not gotten to those yet.
Okay.
But I know you told me that. Well, I think it was part 5 JoJo.
Yeah, he's personally my least. Part 5 is personally my least favorite JoJo.
I mean, and I might get to part 5 and agree with that, but for now, I'm gonna hand it to Jonathan.
Jonathan's a good boy and a gentleman. I'll take no more disgrace. But
he's just kind of a dork.
All right, well, I guess let's get into it. So JoJo's is an anime done by David Productions. It was written by Hirohiko Araki as a manga originally, and it's originally started to air on October 6th of 2012. So I guess in episode 1 it will probably be a good place to start.
Well, first I want to know your thoughts on these the opening, because that's what we see before any of these episodes.
Yes. All right. Well, so opening 1, I love it so much. It starts off by flashing all of the first 6 parts JoJo's and their manga panels, and then goes into Dio and Jonathan, and just kind of throughout the Joestar Mansion follows kind of their adventure, and I fucking love that song so much. It gets me very hype, very very hype, and I for like being a full 3D opening, I think it's very well done, very well done. I like it. I love all the JoJo OPs.
I'll say that visually, I really love the JoJo's Part 1 intro. I think, like, just entirely on the visuals, it looks like it could have been done like as recently as this year. So for this to be like I think 2012, you said?
Yeah, 2012.
It's very ahead of its time for how like intricate it is on detail. In terms of the song, I think it does a good job of letting us know the like feel of the universe. I personally, I don't feel very hyped by it.
What?
It's like, it's just, it sounds like this old dude singing to me.
Okay.
And he's just, it's a little anthemy. I think it fits the show, but for me, it doesn't get me hyped to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And also, there is this. There's one part that I noted where the like very beginning where they showed Dio. I'm very curious on why he's like duck walking with his arms like flat out. Do you know the visual I'm talking about here? He's like sort of He's like crouched on the stairs with his hands like. What is this pose supposed to be?
He's exerting his energy. He's exerting dominance.
He looks like he's doing the robot, and it makes me think that Dio is going to be like a funky dance character with no other experience going in. That was the first time I watched it, I remember I'm like, is this guy going to be like a funky dancer? And then he's not at all. I don't think he's danced like once that I've seen.
Could you imagine Dio breakdancing?
I mean, if he just went up to Jonathan and started doing the robot, I feel like we would have had a much better like conflict versus just him trying to steal the family fortune.
Oh, instead of walking up and kneeing his dog in the face.
Well, yeah, I mean, the dog was kind of asking for it. Like, he tried to attack him.
Danny's a good boy. What do you mean?
I mean, he was a good boy.
R.I.P. Young Legend. All right. Okay. How'd you feel about the ending song?
That would be Roundabout, right?
That is Roundabout for the first season.
This is the first time that I can recall that I have seen a popular Western song used in an anime outro. I think ever. Therefore making it the first recognizable song that I have seen in the anime outro or intro in my lifetime. That was interesting. I think it does a good job of showing that, like, throughout there's going to be some Western references, and you're going to feel like you're going to feel your representation.
Yeah, representation matters.
Yeah, you're going to feel that. Like, you know, a lot of it's not something I'm used to with anime. Like, I mean, there's like occasional drops, but like to have a full on song from yeah, it was interesting. Visually, I thought it played well. I'm not the biggest fan of The Who, but I mean, I don't really hate the song.
It's
So.
not done by The Who.
I thought Roundabout was The Who.
No,
Wait, who sings Roundabout?
Yes.
What?
It's done by a band called Yes.
Is?
Mm-hmm.
I thought Roundabout was The Who. Well, that's awkward.
It's all right.
All these years I've thought that was The Who.
Nope. It is. It's Yes.
Did they do a cover of it?
Maybe. It's a banging song. All 8 minutes of it.
Oh man, I'm just all sorts of lost out here. All these years I've thought that song was by The Who.
It's all right. Well,
interesting.
Sometimes you just got to go your own way.
Well, you know, apparently Yes is a progressive rock band, and it is rather progressive to have Western culture in an anime. So
yes.
Very fitting all around thematically.
Mm-hmm. I myself really like Roundabout as the ending. I also really like the way that in almost every single episode, it'll start to play a little bit before the credits start to roll. So that way, whenever the to be continued pops up, it hits that note. Oh, that's so good. And then
I do like the to be continued screens. They feel very like it feels like it's staying very true to the manga source with that sort of thing.
Yes.
It like pops up and like grays it out, and it feels like I'm watching like an actual like digitized version of what they put on the paper.
Pretty much, yeah. And
very faithful.
Yeah. I also really like how it feels like this mainly happened later on in the in part 2, but it's the same song, so I'll just talk about it now. But how they'll like switch up where they're playing on Roundabout to fit kind of the ending part of that episode, and I think that's such a nice touch. Along with how they would slowly bring in the part 2 characters into the outro as they would be introduced into the story. Also very nice. Love that a lot.
But what about the part 2 intro for you?
Bloody Stream. Ooh, I love Bloody Stream. I did not skip that one or Sono Chino Sadame a single time. Watched them both all the way through. And something that I always forget, but at this point I should remember, is that they actually they start the sound effect thing in part 2. Towards the final fights, they actually added in the sound effects, like the punches and things like that. And it's such a nice touch. You can tell that David Productions really cares about the JoJo anime, and I appreciate them so much for it. Thank you, David Productions. Please part 6 soon. I know it's coming. Take your time. I know things are rough, but I just hope it remains this beautiful product as it's stayed this whole time. And visually, Bloody Stream's so good. I don't like how if you actually know what happens in the story, it's all in Bloody Stream. Like you can catch all of it. But it looks so good. And the song is so funky. It was actually my alarm for the longest time, because that's a good way to start the day.
Well, I'm just opening 2 is big big fucks. It's visually great. This song actually gets me hyped to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is why I just like Joseph so much more than Jonathan. But there's no one. There's cool poses. There's no one doing the robot. These are just cool, well thought out poses all throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the first one, it had some pretty good poses overall. I'll give it that. Yeah. But like that Dio robot is just what sticks in my head, and that's just my vision of Dio at all times. It's either like whenever I think Dio, I either think that image or the meme picture of it was I Dio.
Kono Dio da.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, if I recall correctly, the outro for part 2 is the same, right? It's roundabout.
Yeah, they just switch up the visuals for it. Except for the last episode, the outro is actually Bloody Stream, which I thought was very nice.
Yeah, I did have there's a weird, I had to go back and force it to show me the outro on Netflix, because for some reason Netflix on some of the episodes, it has like the intro and the outro tagged wrong, so it won't give you the option to skip the intro with the button like it normally does, and then it'll start going to the next episode before the current one is finished.
Yeah, no, that happened to me during the Wamu and Joseph fight, actually.
Yeah, that was weird.
Mm-hmm. Very weird. But yeah, you about ready to dive into the bizarreness that is JoJo's?
Oh, I am ready, and I just want to start of what we get into very immediately. We pop up in episode 1, and my only note that I have down here is Jonathan's a pussy, and he kind of sucks.
Damn, that's the first.
I mean,
note?
you might want to cover some of that stuff that happened with George, maybe.
Okay.
I was just like, yeah, we've got some good colors, some unique art, and I really like that. And then very next thing I've got, Jonathan's a pussy.
Jonathan's a gentleman. Okay, so the show opens up on a crash carriage scene, and we see Dario Brando rummaging through the wreckage. He comes across George Joestar, who his wife, and his young son were all traveling in the carriage. George asks Dario if his wife and child are alive. Dario's like, your wife's dead, your son's alive. George thinks that Dario was saving him, when in reality he was a piece of shit just trying to rob him. Says, oh, if you need anything, holla at your boy. I got you covered. And so a few years later, after dying, Dario's son Dio shows up at the mansion to pretty much take up George on his offer. And
well, you just skipped all the reasons that Jonathan's a pussy.
I'm just getting into them. I'm assuming they all happen after Dio arrives at the mansion.
No, these happened before Dio was there, the first one, because we just see Jonathan go up and try to save Irina from like sexual harassment, and he gets the shit beat out of him.
He does at least attempt to save her from sexual harassment, but the boys do leave.
I mean, yeah, it's a noble cause.
It's a noble cause.
And then after getting his ass beat, and Irina's like, "Thank you for standing up for me," he's so mean to her. Because he's like embarrassed. He's like, I didn't do that for you. I did it to be a gentleman. Like, that's just selfish at that point.
Yeah. That's
like the opposite of being a gentleman. If you're only doing gentlemanly things for the sake of being a gentleman, I don't think that's very gentlemanly. It should be natural.
Should be natural to be a gentleman, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should Well, that's what makes it a noble cause.
That's fair. I mean, he was also like 10, 12 during that time?
I don't know.
So
And also,
he is
the way
still
he
learning.
eats,
The
the way he eats is disgusting. He's like knocking shit over. His dad hates him. So that is the justification for why I had Jonathan as a pussy, and he kind of sucks. Now, there are some later reasons that will make him be a pussy, but that's why I have that initial interpretation.
Alright, so anyways, Dio shows up to the mansion and immediately starts to ruin Jonathan's life. Knees his dog in the face, is better at him in every possible way, and pretty much incites a fist fight with him, in which Jonathan gets blamed for it, all within presumably the first week.
Everything is Jonathan's fault.
I don't think I'm gonna blame Jonathan for Danny being burned alive. I think that's 100% on Dio. Forgot that was in episode 1, and that's why I hate Dio.
I mean, Jonathan could have checked in there for his dog.
But Jonathan's not the one that lit the incinerator, the furnace.
Yeah, but like, your dog, your responsibility.
I can't argue with that one. Alright. But that's about episode 1. My only other note for that one that I had is holy fuck, I forgot how much I like this. Which is pretty true. Once I started up episode 1, I was immediately hooked right back in.
Yeah, I don't have any notes afterwards until the time skip.
Okay.
But, so I didn't have any strong opinions.
Okay, then I'll just...
Before that.
Alright, I'll quickly breeze through episode 2. We see that Jack the Ripper is currently terrorizing victims in London. That'll be important later on. And then we get to see a nice rugby game where we get to learn that if Dio and Joe and Jonathan all actually, like, if they actually work together as a team, they'd be pretty damn good. Dio's...
Oh, that was the time skip. But yeah, I was like, oh, they're best buds now.
Yeah.
Maybe Jonathan won't suck anymore now that he's been taken under Dio's wing.
Yeah. Well.
But then I find out they're not best buds at all.
No, Jonathan does not trust Dio, and Dio still actively hates Jonathan.
Yeah, but at least they're helping each other score in rugby.
True. And George Joestar has actually fallen sick during this time, and Jonathan has begun to suspect Dio after finding a letter. So after confronting Dio and they have a little kerfuffle, Jonathan heads out to London where he meets Robert E.O. Speedwagon, who I very much like his hat. I like that man's hat.
Speedwagon. And I just love that Speedwagon gets thrown into this anime for the sole purpose of being like the out-of-fight narration of all the stuff that the JoJos do.
That's true.
That is, like, just to throw a character in there and that be his sole function, that is quite the forethinking to just give this man that job.
Very true. And while Jonathan's away, Dio decides to test the stone mask that they found on an archaeological site and learns that it creates vampires. So you could say things in episode 2 pretty much going pretty fast here. The plot picks up pretty quickly. I mean, it's 9 episodes. They got a lot to fit in.
Yeah, I do feel like since this JoJo is going to be dying pretty quickly, they really try to rush us into the whole thing.
Yeah.
And just power it out. I felt very strongly watching. This is the initial point where I'm like, is this like satire?
Mm-hmm.
Is that fight in the alleyway?
Oh, with his bowler hat?
Yeah, where Jonathan, like, he's outnumbered and they're like coming at him with like knives and shit, and he's just like, you cannot defeat me, for my resolve is unmatched. And then Speedwagon throws his little clippy hat at him and it gets stuck in his wrist and he's unfazed by it. And then Speedwagon's just like, oh no, we are no match for this young man's resolve. I respect him now. And I'm like, there's no way that this is serious.
No, this is real life. Sometimes you just gotta have the resolve to power through.
This is how it was written, and it was meant to be taken seriously.
And it's glorious, every second of it.
It's powerful.
Truly touching. So after both Jonathan and Dio return from their trips, Jonathan fully confronts Dio, and he pretty much traps him in a little room. Dio says, absolutely not, that's not me. And then Speedwagon pops up and essentially says, no, Dio, you were born evil. You even have the devil's luck. Which you can see by the 3 moles on his left ear. Dio then forsakes his humanity, puts on the mask, and then kills George Joestar, and they end up setting the mansion on fire. The only survivors from this will be Jonathan and Speedwagon and Dio, of course. Who the fight ends with Jonathan impaling Dio on the statue of their family deity. Do you have any opinions on episode 3?
I was about everything that's taken place here. I did not feel very strongly about, because I did not feel very emotionally attached to any of the characters. I know they tried to make us pity Jonathan because he's been getting bullied by Dio all this time, and then they try to make him seem like he's this badass by going into the London slums, but I felt no real attachment to them.
Yeah. Okay. That's understandable. I mean, I felt a little bad because I would imagine watching your father get murdered by your stepbrother in front of you would be a feels bad band moment. But I really don't feel too bad for George. Like, I wasn't emotionally attached either. Thought the fight was very nice, but that was about it. Thought it was a well choreographed scene. So in the next episode, we find that Jonathan his wounds are being taken care of by none other than his childhood sweetheart, Ariana Pendleton. And upon visiting the mansion, again with Speedwagon, he runs into a William Zeppeli, who promptly punched him in the chest, quickly teaching him the ways of Hammon to help heal his broken arm. We get a little backstory about how Zeppeli first encountered the mask, and along with a quick Hammon training montage. I was also watching Jojo's with headphones in at this point, and the sound design in this show is so good. Like, it's actually so good. I highly recommend it if you have, like, the time or opportunity. Towards the end of the episode, we learn that Dio's been spotted at a nearby town, and on the way there, they're actually attacked by Jack the Ripper. And as a final training thing, Zeppeli fills a glass with wine and tells Jonathan if he drops a single drop while fighting Jack, he will abandon him right here and now and no longer teach him the ways of Hammon.
Which seems kind of cold to me. Like, both of their goals are the same. To get rid of Dio, and you're just gonna ditch this man?
But you gotta make sure you're fighting with the best,
But, I mean, the Zeppelis are kind of assholes at times, so.
They can be. They definitely can be. It's a family thing. Alright, so in the next episode, the trio arrives to the town. They quickly find Dio, who summons an army of the undead to fight them. One quick question I had here is, this would have been the first time that Dio would have actually fought a Hammon user. So how did he know how to instantly counteract it when Jonathan went up to fight him?
I kind of assumed that putting on the mask gave him a great knowledge about it. Like a sort of omnipotent thing where he just, he knows about it.
I mean, I guess.
And do we really know that he's the first one that, is that verified? Because there might be other Hammon users. I mean, I know that they always say that, later on that they're the last of them, but I would assume if he had knowledge of it, it was through some means. Because he seemed like pretty knowledgeable about it,
Yeah,
as if he'd encountered it before.
that's true. I just didn't think that there was a whole lot of them running around. To be honest with you,
I mean, not anymore.
that's true. That's true. I guess that the mask could probably grant him the knowledge of that. I'll see why not. Well, that's just a thought I had. And then Dio ends up summoning Bruford and what was it, Fruckus? Truckus?
I think it's Truckus.
I'm gonna look this up real fast. Hold on. I should have written down the actual name. My apologies.
You just call him Big Sword Boy. That's what I've been calling him.
He does have big sword. He have very big sword.
One thing I like to point out is up to this point, I fucking hate Poco.
Oh, the kid?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
fuck him.
Tarukas. Tarukas, that's his name. Tarukas. Tarukas.
But yeah, fuck Poco. Annoying little selfish douchebag.
Yeah, I honestly
I
forget he exists.
I hate it. I've told you my opinions on British accents as a whole, but
That's
British
true.
kids, that's the worst of it. I hated Poco.
Good thing we didn't record this on a Tuesday then.
I think that's what yeah, that's one of the last things I have noted for this. I've got some later notes, but that's my last significant one.
Okay.
Just how much I hated Poco.
That's fair. That's understandable. All right. So then the next episode, Jonathan and Bruford's battle continues. At the end of it, Jonathan is able to break through to the warrior spirit that is still within him. We get a nice scene of Bruford handing over his sword and even giving it a new name, Pluck. So it is now a lucky sword and a courageous sword, which I find is very fitting for the gentleman known as Jonathan Joestar.
I like how he just wrote it on there. It kind of reminded me of like when you like go adjust something that's already written to make it like comical.
Yeah, which to be fair, the show's already pretty funny.
Yeah, but just the fact that he's just writing it on there, it doesn't match the other letters at all. Is quite a way to put the power in that sword.
Yeah. So afterwards, the group is attempting to escape from Tarukas. Jonathan and Baron end up actually making a hum-on hang glider. I thought that was pretty cool. And then they end up coming up to this thing known as the Lion's Den. Poco gets a nice little backstory to show that he, is growing as a person to like trust these guys as he's climbing up to pull the lever. And then, honestly, I literally wrote, gee whiz, Batman. The ending of this episode with Baron and Roundabout playing, because I knew it was coming, so I was like already getting a little teary-eyed. But I thought that was another instance where Roundabout was used very well with the episode ending.
Yeah, I to this point also had no emotional attachment to Baron Zeppeli, so I was just kind of like, oh, well, Jojo's stronger now.
Yeah. I think in my first watch, I definitely didn't care. I was like, whatever. But upon rewatching, I've grown to enjoy him.
He's like a second-hand Caesar for you, so you just...
Yeah, I do have a soft spot for all the Zeppelis, to be honest. I mean, Baron's probably my least favorite, but he's still a Zeppeli, so he's still part of that soft spot. So anyways, in the next episode, we open with Baron hearing the prophecy about his death, and then he gets cut in half to give Jojo the rest of his Hamon. I did like the scene with Dio and the mother. He's clearly very big on the fine print and contracts. I think that's pretty, thought that was a little fucked of him to do that, to be honest.
I mean, he's a man of the law.
That's true. And to be fair, he did not harm the baby, nor did any of his other vampires.
No, you got a point.
You know, the man may be many things, but a stickler for contracts, I guess he is.
And I don't think we're at the scene yet. Are we at the scene? Let me know when we're at Poco's sister. I forget when that goes chronologically, but
I think her sister's in the backstory.
no, she's coming up. She interacts with Dio next. She's the one girl that he tries to woo.
Okay.
I think it's the episode after the one you're discussing, but
Yeah.
I don't know if anything happens between there that's significant.
Fair. Oh, well, they run into Dyer and Straitso, who are fellow Haman users, and we get to see the Thunder Cross split attack for the first time. What a marvelous attack that truly is. I'm not sure how anybody would ever find out how to dodge it at all. Dodge it or block it. It seems unblockable. But okay, you can go ahead and talk about Poco's sister.
Oh, are we there now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there was like that fucking cat with the human head creeped me the fuck out.
Yeah.
That thing looked disgusting.
Yeah, he's making some chimeras up in there.
I mean, like it died, so I didn't have to look at it for that long, but wow, that is if they were going for like visually induced fear, that definitely hit right on the mark.
Well,
with that one.
Well, it was supposed to be a horror manga.
Yeah, it's I did not. That thing was terrifying. I never want to see that again.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looked like Stroheim on a cat, like with the hair it had.
Yeah. I guess a little bit. It looked a little bit like Stroheim. Basically, the gang gets there. Gets to Dio after that. Dyer once again tries to Thundercross split attack, and Dio's no dummy, so he literally iced him. Just straight up iced him. I didn't really care much that Dyer died. I kind of thought the Thundercross split attack was stupid. Still kind of think it's dumb.
Yeah, a lot of this is feeling like a bit like Attack on Titan, where we've got a bunch of these characters getting introduced and then they die before I even have a chance to care about them.
Yes, and the fact that part 1's only 9 episodes makes it a little bit worse.
Yeah, that's... I mean, I get it. They wanted to get part 1 and part 2 all into one season.
Yeah.
They had to...
They had to make some changes.
It does make the later seasons feel very odd because all of them are longer than part 1 and part 2 combined by a significant amount.
Yeah, you definitely get more time with the characters. But Jonathan ends up beating Dio. I believe he decapitates him here. And then he goes and marries Erina, and on their way for their honeymoon, Dio and the Chinese man, Chinese medicine seller from London that actually sold Dio the poison show up, and turns out the fight's not quite over. How did you feel about Dio showing back up here at the after the whole fight on the castle?
I mean, you know, all of this I kind of just felt indifferent about. I felt like I got to truck through part 1 to get to Joseph, but all of this I was just kind of I mean, you know, it's nice for later setup and all.
Yeah.
But this does just feel like 9 episodes of setting up the rest of the JoJo series.
Well, you gotta start somewhere.
You do have to start somewhere,
And
but
we
this
don't.
seems like we are getting everything built up for part 2 and part 3 and maybe later parts. Haven't gotten to those yet, but this does very much feel like an introductory paragraph.
I get that. Okay. So on the boat, ends up catching on fire. Jonathan saves Arena and a baby's life as they escape, and he dies holding
And
Dio's severed head.
man, am I happy that he saved that baby's life.
I am also happy that he saved that baby's life. Do you know why? Because that means that we get to continue JoJo, moving on to part 2. Instantly felt different, except for it starting out with old Speedwagon and Straightso going to visit the statue that they found in Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since, we still have old Speedwagon, we really get a good concept of the time that's passed and what we're about to get thrown into and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we see, like, hey, cool, Speedwagon's still around at least. We brought one from before.
True.
But, then we get to see Joseph, my boy, immediately.
His introduction.
Just showing how cool he is.
Yeah.
My note here just says Joseph Pog.
Joseph's a real Pog champ, yo.
Yeah, he does some cool shit with bottle caps.
Yeah,
and,
dude, he straight broke that cop's finger off. Not to say those cops deserved it.
And he stops police brutality before that was like the cool thing to do, because this is like 1939.
Yeah.
When all this goes down.
Yeah, he was saving a black kid.
Or no,
too.
sorry, this is even earlier, because this is like a few years, because Smokey's older now, right? Or did Smokey age?
I mean, I
don't remember.
At the end of the show.
Oh no, because Smokey said, I've only known him for 6 months.
Yeah.
When they were fighting later. So yeah, this is 39.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, we're in like 1939, and this man's stopping police brutality of a colored individual. Like, truly a noble cause, unlike Jonathan, who is just trying to be a gentleman to front.
That's fair. I guess Joseph's a little rough around the edges, but where it counts, it counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. My only other note that I have here is the backstory that Speedwagon tells of the time that Joseph saved his life, and also the time that he survived his first plane crash. That manga that he was reading, I believe that was actually the manga that Araki was working on before he started JoJo's. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I did not catch that.
Yeah, you got to be a real nerd to catch that one.
Yeah, I was. But does anything happen significant between now and like when they find out what's up with Speedwagon?
Oh, no, because Straightso pretty much comes right over here. He does fight that that gangster.
Well, we get like that thing with like some shit with Stroheim capturing
Speedwagon, yeah.
Speedwagon, and I don't remember the exact timeline of if they show San Viento before
they show his
San
statue.
Viento comes after Straightso, right?
Yeah, because Straightso comes up and attacks Jonathan.
But yeah, we're getting like the introduction to what they're doing with the Germans.
Yep.
And fucking up old Speedwagon.
Those damn Germans, can never really trust them.
Yeah, I mean, they come through when you really, really need them, though.
That's true. But I mainly kid. Yeah, so then he pretty much fights Straightso, who kidnaps a woman that Joseph doesn't even know, to try to use her as ransom or as bait. And then Kind of actually didn't write down any notes for these couple episodes here, but I do know that Joseph, he ends up going down to Mexico to try to rescue Speedwagon, and we get Tequila Joseph.
Tequila Joseph?
Yeah, where he dresses up in the dress.
Oh, the girl thing? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was gonna. I mean, Joseph with some even bigger titties is because he's already got those massive pecs, but
Yep.
those even bigger boobies.
Yes.
That scene had me acting up.
Joseph gonna make you act a fool?
Yeah, that one.
That's understandable. Me too. Sometimes.
And then he gets in his silly German attire after that whole transaction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I think at this point, a little before this at least, we've gotten to see the San Viento thing, and I think at this point he's like climbed in the vents and is like they're all scared and shit.
Yeah, because they have no idea where he's gonna come out again.
But yeah, San Viento has awakened, and
Oh, yeah.
we're a little confused because this guy looks stronger than Dio was in part 1 initially.
Yeah, because Dio couldn't morph his skeleton like that or anything.
Yeah, Dio was just a vampire. This guy's like a fucking
vampire plus
ancient.
An ancient Aztec god of fitness.
Yeah, he's posing real sexually with his like his hands at his sides, all like bulged out. He's got his butt perked out and everything, doing the Pillarman. Mating
why
call.
are they so? Yeah, why are they so thick, dude?
They're really strong. Like they didn't have much to do back then, so and they're just always trying to get stronger.
Yeah, I guess that would lead to you being extra thickies. Okay, so Dio and San Viento begin their fight here, and we get to see him jumping in and out of people's legs.
Oh, sorry, you said Dio and San Viento. I think you mean
I meant Joseph.
Jojo.
I sure do mean Jojo.
Weird
sorry.
fight.
Although, I would like to see a Dio fight a Pillarman. Maybe part 3 Dio fight a Pillarman. That'd be cool.
I think they're all gone, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all gone. They're all dead.
Yeah. Joseph couldn't just leave one for him.
Well, the only one left alive would have killed everybody. Sorry about the yawn there.
That's true. He did get very strong.
Mm-hmm.
All because of Jojo's negligence.
Yes, very, very much so. But it's okay. It all worked itself out. But
yeah,
right.
So now we get the San Viento jumping into the soldier's face and fucking. I don't really know what he was doing to him, but he turned into a big old blob, and now Jojo's here to save the day from that mess, which is an interesting fight. It's a little odd. We get to find out that not all Germans are completely bad, as Stroheim sort of helps take down San Viento.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this sequence seemed a little weird to me because going into this the first time I watched, I thought that San Viento would be like the whole part 2 enemy, or at least like a little longer lasting than this, but no, they take care of him in this episode. Like they get him out in the sunlight, and Stroheim commits seppuku to get him out. Pseudo seppuku.
Yeah, he commits not alive.
Yeah, but yeah, so that was interesting, and I was like, where are we going with the conflict now? But later I found out that San Viento was just the tip of the iceberg here. There are scarier things out there than San Viento.
Yes, they tell Jojo of another statue that they found in Italy containing 3 different pillar men and a bunch of stone masks.
Yeah, and now Jojo's got to go find a Hamon user that can help him defeat these pillarmen. So he goes to Italy, and I'll let you take it from here since this is your favorite part of JoJo history, apparently.
Whoa. My favorite part of JoJo history is part 4. That's my favorite part. Part 6 is probably my favorite manga.
There's someone you like more than Caesar?
Yeah. Yeah, actually. But I do love Caesar. I sure do.
Yeah, we get to
be
introduced
in a very fun way. We get to be introduced to Mr. Caesar Zeppeli as he is disgusting Joseph Joestar with his womanizing ways in a restaurant. Joseph attempts to throw some squid ink noodles at him, and Caesar expertly throws them right back into Joseph's wine glass. And then they have a nice little duel outside shortly afterwards.
A very interesting duel, which brings me to the point that in the dub, Caesar's accent is horrible.
Yeah.
It is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I had watched this subbed, I might like Caesar a little more. Cause I think you watched it subbed the first time, right?
Yeah, I've watched it both ways. I don't watch dubs past part 2 just because I don't mind if like character names get messed up, but when it comes to the stand names, I prefer the way the sub does it.
I want my Jojo to speak the language he's supposed to speak. So, Jotaro, I want him in Japanese. I want, yeah. But, yeah, this one's interesting. Just that accent is horrific. Yeah. There's some other accents we can get into.
Oh, we didn't even talk about von Stroheim's accent.
That one's like bad, but that one could pass for like intentionally bad. Caesar's is borderline like offensive to the Italian community.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a little wonkies.
It sounds like Caesar's to me sounds like a white kid trying to do like a Spanish accent.
Okay, I see that.
Which I don't know who the voice actor is. That very well could be. Hold on, let me see. Oh yeah, he is voiced by a very white man that was born in California.
Love to hear it. Well, after they get over their differences slightly, Joseph and Caesar make their way down to the statue of the Pillarmen, along with Caesar's friend Mark, where they find that the Pillarmen have been awakened, and promptly then kill Caesar's friend Mark, and Caesar then challenges Walmu to combat to avenge his friend. He is unsuccessful, but he does gain Walmu's respect, and then Joseph, the big brain IQ individual that he is, promptly challenges Walmu right after, and through a series of events ends up getting 2 poisonous rings placed on one on his windpipe and the other on his artery, and that will dissolve in 33 days unless he can defeat 2 out of the 3 Pillarmen.
And this is the first time that we have to see Jojo in fear.
Yes, because Joseph up to this point has been very confident. He was a little afraid against San Viento, but he knew he had it.
He's very deceptive, and like this sort of makes it where he can't be deceptive. He has to win through sheer power now.
Yeah, he has to win through being an honorable warrior.
Yeah, Jonathan would definitely be proud of him after this point. Maybe not so much before.
Mm-hmm. Probably not.
And this is also kind of what earns his Caesar's respect, to Jojo. Because
Yeah,
before that, they did not really get along at all.
not at all. That was definitely the start of it. So in search to be able to properly fight all three of the Pillar Men, Joseph and Caesar, go off to find Caesar's old Hummon coach. And boy, howdy. Would you like to take it away from here, my friend?
Oh, yeah. So something that I managed to forget from the first time I watched, but Lisa, waifu. First thing I have. She's sitting there. She's dressed like a regular, like I think a fisherman or just like a
Like a
tourist
fair.
boat. I don't know I don't really know what she is dressed as, but she pops out of there and we have waifu of the JoJo. We finally have one because Arena didn't really do it for me. Granny Arena definitely no. There haven't really been any other women other than like ones that Dio or Straizo were toying with. But we have Lisa now, who is definitely waifu and definitely of age. Two things that I can certainly get behind.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any Lisa opinions you'd like to share, but
I think Lisa is a queen amongst queens myself. Don't think she is a very powerful woman, and I love her character.
yeah, and she's very cold to Joseph. Basically, like just ready to let him die if he's not ready to learn to be better. Throws a mask on him and everything, and
Yeah, she said there's a
throws him.
pandemic.
Yeah, throws him in a hole and says, "Climb up it or die, idiot."
Yes.
And
Let's.
this is one thing. I don't know if I missed something. I don't think I did. I think this is literally it. It seemed like the only training that Joseph got to get like as strong as he got, and this is kind of like Jonathan had like literally almost no training, and he is just a fucking like god stronger than all these people. But then like Joseph as well. Literally all she did was tell him to breathe in a rhythm and put your hamon through your fingertips instead of your palms, and now he's like god mode.
Well, they had that little training montage once they got out of the tower as well.
It didn't seem like they were having to give him a whole lot to bring this immense amount of power out of him. The same goes for Jonathan. Like the JoJo, I think the JoJos just need to be nerfed because this is they've got to put in a lot. Like it took her 50 years to get weaker than him at 19 with very little training, and yeah,
I don't know if I'd say she's weaker than him.
I mean, who had to save who?
Well, who was decepted first?
Both. And Joseph had to fight stronger version later that we can talk about. But like,
that's true.
I'm just saying, like, if in terms of just straight up like who's gonna win, he took the he and he did that after fighting someone. So I would definitely say he is stronger.
Okay.
With their like much less experience.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Maybe there's something in the JoJo bloodline other than resolve.
Well, there is the JoJo secret technique.
But what's up from here?
I do believe
You do all the
AC/DC comes and attacks Joseph during his final training test.
Yeah, and here I have noted we have JoJo in this beanie, and I would just like to point out that throughout all of this, and as well as everywhere from this point, JoJo's fashion is just impeccable. He is this man knows how to dress.
Yeah, he looks very good. Very good.
very fashionable gentleman, especially compared to his father, who kind of just threw on whatever. He wore like
George.
suits and like armor.
Yeah.
Or sorry, not his father, his grandfather.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Okay.
Like he's very evolved in fashion, especially for this being 1939. He's very ahead of his time with how fashionable he is as well.
That's true. That is definitely true. He's a forward-thinking man.
He's not scared to like go through self-expression in a time when self-expression was frowned upon, and all you should really be wearing is like a suit or like a military outfit.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very progressive Joseph here.
That's very true. But after he seemingly defeats AC/DC, we do get a mildly problematic scene involving Lisa and Joseph.
We do get some incestuous peeping, and before that, we actually run into Susie Q for, I think, the first time.
Yes.
And boy, is her accent the worst in the show, by far.
Yeah, you hate Susie Q's accent?
It's not that I hate it. It's just the worst. And I went to the voice actor. I was really hoping that they would have at least used one Italian for these. But no, it's an Asian woman that voices Susie Q.
Okay.
It is actually in the 2021 Sailor Moon movie. Apparently, it's the same voice actor that did Susie Q.
What character?
So this is just... She was Sailor Moon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But, fun trivia for this episode. But yeah, it's not an Italian. Caesar is just a white dude doing an Italian accent, and Susie Q is just an Asian lady doing an Italian accent, and that is what I would have expected, because these accents were... they were not great.
Yeah?
Hers sounded like a Mario impression, really. She just added A to the end of every word.
Okay, yeah. Maybe a little bit.
Which is, I guess, how you would do like a very insensitive Italian accent, but not so much accurate. And it does it gives me a further layer of me thinking, like, is this satire? But, like, I would assume that if you just watch the sub, that entire issue gets fixed.
Yeah, because...
Unless they also had, like...
No, they don't really
I would certainly hope that they did not have someone speaking Japanese doing an Italian accent that wasn't from Italy. I feel like that would just confuse me.
Yeah. I mean...
Or I might not be able to tell, because I'm not super familiar with the linguistic styles over there.
Yeah. I mean, me neither, to be fair, but they don't really do the accent stuff in the sub.
Yeah, but that was my biggest takeaway from this scene. Because I didn't even think about the incest stuff until later. But yeah, he does try to peep on his mom. And if he hadn't, she likely would have died. So good on you, Joseph.
Yes, and why would she have died?
Because Susie Q had been infested by ECDC.
His brain survived, which is kind of gross.
Which every time I hear ECDC's name, I think of the band AC/DC.
Good, you're supposed to.
It's quite the name he has.
Yes. And AC/DC actually used, I believe, Susie Q to ship the Redstone of Asia off to Switzerland, which is what the Pillarmen need to achieve their goal of becoming the ultimate life forms.
Yes. And attempting to retrieve it, they get captured by the Germans.
Yes, who I did not expect to see von Stroheim ever again.
Especially not reincarnated as a cyborg.
Especially not
But
that way.
that is the power of German technology.
It's the best.
Volkswagen is superior.
Yes. And then I believe the Pillarmen attack them, correct? Or Cars does?
I think so, yeah. And it
Yeah.
sort of fails, and they end up like outside of they end up on like that balcony looking at him and arguing over whether to go or not. And it's at this point where I'm like, okay, Caesar's kind of a bitch. Like, he throws like a tantrum and just punches Joseph for trying to be tactical. For once in poor little Joseph's life, he's trying to think of others instead of just his own recklessness. He's trying to think of like the sake of humanity, and Caesar's like, no, I must avenge Grandpa Zeppeli.
And Father Zeppeli.
Yeah, and Jonathan as well is in that revenge plot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, just Caesar's kind of a bitch. Like, stop and think, man. You don't have to be so angry. I don't know how you felt about this, being a Caesar fan #1.
Being Caesar fan #1. I'll take that moniker. I thought it was fine. Yeah, I think it's a little silly to get mad at Joseph for wanting to be a little more practical about the situation. But given the quick backstory that we do get for Caesar, I think his actions are justified.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say justified. I can see how he could be upset, but to say he's justified in lashing out and punching poor Joseph.
Yeah, because as he said when you first met him, his family is the most important thing to him.
Yeah, but like in a way, Joseph's kind of his only family left.
He might have realized that a little too late.
You know, maybe it might have cost him his life, you could say, because right after this, why don't you go ahead and tell us what happens to your boy?
Caesar gets impatient and decides to walk off to the mansion that they know that the Pillarmen are inside of, or the hotel mansion thing. He is assaulted outside by one of them, who's found a way to prevent the sun rays from reaching their skin. After going inside and getting the backstory of how the Stone Mask and Pillarmen have literally stolen his family right away from him, Caesar begins to fight Wamu, and he gets so incredibly close to winning. So incredibly close. But he makes a fatal error and decides to jump to deliver his final blow, and in a second, he blocks out the sun just enough for Wamu to perform his divine sandstorm and kill poor Caesar. And Joseph and Lisa all cried.
At this point, it's like I'm just wondering. Like, yeah, he gives up his he does the Zeppeli fashion and gives his power to Joseph. Throws up his headband.
He does
which
achieve.
Joseph looks much better in that headband than Caesar.
Yes.
I will say that it fits him much better.
I will say that Caesar didn't totally fail. He did receive the antidote ring, which was the last one that Joseph actually needed in time before his.
He did get that,
mm-hmm.
And but I was just like, man, why do the Zeppelis keep dying to save the Jojos? It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it's kind of their family curse.
It's truly unfortunate. But yeah, I think this is the same part where they, Cars and Wamu, or I think it's immediately after this, Cars and Wamu, like, engage, Jojo and Lisa, right?
Yeah, they go up into the mansion, and Lisa actually challenges them to all do a one-on-one fight.
Yeah, and they make Lisa stay hostage,
Mm-hmm.
and I have in my notes that Jojo must fight to save waifu. So for the first time, I care.
It took you this
So
long to care?
this is the first time that I have been invested in how the outcome of something in the anime is gonna go.
Okay.
Like I didn't want Joseph to die, but obviously he's not gonna die unless it's like the last episode because we need the Jojo lineage to continue.
Yes.
Uh, but this is the first time that I cared about someone in the show that might have died, and I'm like, yeah, Jojo must fight to save waifu, so now I care.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I felt about that one.
Understandable. Well, how'd you feel about the carriage battle between Joseph and Wamu?
It was interesting, and I will say I have in my notes here that I do like that every JoJo fight is not that they're rarely like the same thing, right?
Yes.
So like every anime has their way of sort of making, or every good anime I should say has a way of adding these different fight styles into stuff. In Attack on Titan, we're not always just watching these boring swinging at the Titans from the OEM gear and stuff. Like sometimes we get giant kaiju UFC fights, but JoJo has a unique way to do it because Hamon is not particularly the most interesting fight style to watch. So it finds the way to fit in these quirky fight styles where we have either these hubris based toying with them to make the fight more interesting and it backfires. It really throughout the whole thing it kind of plays out with these interesting sort of similar to stuff you'd see in Norse or Greek mythology fight styles where they're always different. There's always different wagers, different stakes, a different reason that we're in these fights. It's a very unique way to take because I mean later we get the stands, which sort of up the action sort of thing we're getting, but with just the way that Jonathan and Joseph function, they found an interesting way to make all these fights unique to where we're not just watching a boxing match basically.
Yeah, and that's something I myself really appreciate about JoJo's as a full series. Honestly, is it never feels stale. With the fights, like the Joseph versus Wamu, I enjoyed very much. I did think Joseph was silly for grabbing the large crossbow, but man, was that fight good! And then the way it ends too. Oh man, I think Wamu is a much better. I think he would have been a better final villain than Cars. To be honest, I just respected him a lot more. But I get why Cars was the final.
Well, that's the thing. You respect Wamu more because it wasn't like that last fight, right?
Yeah.
Because Cars was bad. There were more stakes there. Wamu wouldn't have put those stakes because he was an honorable warrior.
Correct. An honorable warrior of the sea, if you will.
Yeah, he's very different than Cars. I feel for the style of characters, Cars is definitely the best one to be the last one.
Yeah, because he's the most evil. He did kill most of his own people.
Yeah, he's willing to do anything to win. He doesn't care about honor or testing his strength or any of that.
Exactly, like how he backstabbed Lisa to grab the Red Stone of Asia.
Oh, boy, was I mad when he did that.
Oh,
I
yes.
did not like when he hurt the waifu.
No, sir. You do not harm the waifus. It's rule 1, kids.
And I do have in my notes here again asking why do the strong boys pose so sexually? Also, because Wamu and Cars are just standing there near butt ass naked, just puffing their chests out.
Because
trying to seduce me like they're on the front of a muscle fitness magazine.
was it working?
No, it's not really my thing.
All right.
I mean, Cars does have kind of a femboy thing coming on
Yeah,
when
his
he
hair.
takes the wrap off.
His
Yeah,
hair is glorious, man.
he is a very pretty boy.
He has a glorious mane. Okay. So once Cars does end up backstabbing Lisa, he is able to put the red stone into the mask and become the ultimate life form.
And man, does Jojo feel fucked when this happens?
Did you see what he did with his hand, man?
Wait, who?
Did you see
Jojo?
what Cars did with his hand?
Wait. Oh, when he like turned it into like a talon?
Yeah, and the squirrel?
Oh, the squirrel hand part. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be fucking terrified too.
Yeah, that was, and you know, we get this like thing where he's like, all right, now it's time to run. But little do we know, we've been had because he's not running to be scared. He's got a plan that he will get to if Smokey will stop nagging him for 10 seconds.
I mean, I feel like this nagging was warranted.
I mean, Smokey needs to just try, like, when has Jojo not had Smokey's back? At this point, he should trust him.
Yeah, he did save him from those cops, so he definitely should trust him.
Yeah, like, if you can stop the cops from committing police brutality, I'm pretty sure you can stop, like, a world-ending disaster.
More than likely. But that is
one of those is a lot more difficult than the other.
Yeah, I really don't know how to go about ending police brutality.
Ask Jojo. He was taking care of it in 39.
Yeah, if only. Okay. But yes, Jojo's final plan. Please go over that, my good sir. Checking something out there.
So he jumps up in a fucking airplane, which is, I was not expecting that, to be honest with you. And his plan is basically to go on a suicide mission to kill, what's his name? Cars. And at this point, Speedwagon tries to tell Jojo, hey, you can't kill yourself. Lisa's your mom. Which, I don't really understand how that was gonna... I feel like that would make him more likely to kill himself and save the world. Like,
yeah, especially given the bath scene. Yeah.
I don't really... Well, that and just like, I have nothing to live for now. And like, sure, really, I mean, I wouldn't say it's that far, but it's like, you know, he's willing to sacrifice himself to save the world with no family in it besides Granny Arena. And then he's going to find out that his mom is at stake as well. That's going to make him more likely to go through with this plan that he has.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And then some little fish come in and chew up his parachute, which was going to be his, like, only plan for escape anyways.
Right.
So
now he's got to survive another plane crash.
Yeah, so he uses that as a good old decoy. And, then we find out Stroheim is actually on the plane by some miracle. He's gotten onto the wing. And he's gonna, because he's got fucking Cars flying through the air on the plane, and Cars is like, you idiot, I'm just gonna get off of the plane. And then you're gonna go into this volcano for no reason. And Stroheim has other thoughts, and throws his little fucking bionic hand thing onto his shoulder, which somehow is enough to... I don't really understand how that like stapled him to the plane, because it seemed like it was just pinching his shoulder. But I mean, if it works, it works.
Yep.
And so Cars goes into the lava, and you think, you know, he's dead now, right?
You would think so, yeah.
So tell me, Alex, how does that work out?
Well, it turns out...
I know you're very fresh on that
Yeah.
That ending.
Yes. Very, very fresh. Well, it turns out Cars is such a superior being that he is able to create inorganic matter out of air bubbles to prevent the lava from reaching his skin.
Huge power play.
Huge power play, big brain. His brain's a supercomputer, so I'm sure he came up with that in mere seconds.
Possibly.
Yeah. But then, I'm assuming because of all the ruckus caused by the plane crash and things falling inside of the volcano erupts. And it blasts Jojo and Cars up into the sky. Where Cars thinks, oh, you're the only one who will be affected by this. Jojo, I can fly away. And Jojo gets into Cars' brain just long enough for volcanic debris to carry Cars out into space.
And straight up freezes him forever.
To the point where he just stops thinking.
Yeah, and that seems like a pretty miserable and fitting ending for good old Cars.
Yes. I am confused as how Jojo survived going up that high into the sky and then landing.
Well, he had a rock that he was on. But yeah, I mean, maybe he protected himself with Hamon.
Maybe. But then
I would assume.
Yeah, then we get a nice little 6-month time skip, and we open up on Joseph Joestar's funeral.
Yeah.
Oh.
And guess who's in attendance for Jojo's funeral?
Is it Jojo?
He's there, and gets kicked out of his own funeral.
Yeah.
Quite the man.
Indeed.
And then we get my least favorite part of the show. We get this stupid, like, where they are now thing.
Oh, you hated that?
I hate this in every movie where they do it, because they are fictional characters, and none of this really added to the plot.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like, they were like, Smokey went off to be the first black politician in Georgia. And I'm like, what?
That's pretty big though, dude. Think about the time when he would have become a mayor. That's pretty big.
This was, all of this was just like, why are they showing me this? This is, it made it feel like one of,
my least favorite.
It made it feel like one of those coming of age stories.
Yeah, my least favorite one was for Stroheim, because how are you going to try to make me feel bad for a Nazi?
I mean, you know, I like how they never acknowledged like why these people were Nazis at all. They were just like, it's about German supremacy, and they did not mention anything that they had as like viewpoints or anything, which I guess it would be pretty distracting to like go through that viewpoint. But also, like, how can Stroheim be against the Pillarmen when the Pillarmen, like, they want the same thing he does?
Exactly.
To eradicate everyone that is different.
Yep, to achieve genetic superiority, if you will.
But, yeah, and then we see a nice little prelude to season 2.
Part 3.
We find out Jojo is racist.
Whoa, I wouldn't say
against Japanese people.
I wouldn't say racist. He said, I'll never forgive the Japanese, not I hate the Japanese.
He specifically was mean to a guy because he was Japanese. He was going to be nice to him, and then he's like, wait, you're Japanese. And then he was mean. If that is not racism, then...
Yeah, that's racism. You got me there. I guess Joseph's a little racist, bad character. Jojo's is canceled.
He just, after being so woke in 1939, it's like 40 years later, and
hey, I guess
now he's become, he's just become what he tried to destroy back then.
What's that Batman quote? You either live a hero, or you either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Jonathan died.
Yeah.
Jonathan died the hero.
Yeah, Jonathan died before he could become racist.
Which is
But,
probably a good thing. But
yeah,
speaking
so
of Jonathan, I guess let's just go through any particular characters in part 1 you want to talk about. We got Jonathan, Dio, Speedwagon, Baron, Poco.
Fuck Poco.
Yeah.
I would say that, like, I wasn't too attached to any of them. I do think that Dio made a great antagonist.
Yeah, but I really like part 1 Dio. I really hate him. Like, I genuinely hate him.
Yeah, he's very good at making himself hateable. He's a great antagonist for the show. He's, like, by far the character that really just gets the most depth overall.
Yeah, yes. I once heard...
Which makes sense, because, to my knowledge, he's the one that ends up sticking around the longest in the later seasons.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched the last cutscene of the final episode, but there was a little teaser to the final villain in part 3 as well. Okay.
Well, yeah, anyone from part 1? I know you really like your Jonathan.
I do like Jonathan. I think he is a true gentleman. I love him. I also love Danny. Wish that we would have gotten more time with him. I didn't mention this earlier, but I think part 1 has some very cool hats. I like Zeppeli's hat a lot. Oh, I also didn't mention earlier, whenever they go outside whenever Joseph and Caesar go outside for their little fight, the Caesar's hat is a very nice callback to Baron. I very much enjoyed that.
Yeah. What about for part 2? I know you liked Caesar.
I love Caesar. I love Joseph. I love Lisa. I love Wamu. Like, honestly, I love the part 2 cast, except for maybe Stroheim. I think Stroheim, and then...
He's our comedic relief.
I didn't find him very funny. And then Logs and Messina I didn't very much care for, but everybody else I pretty much liked a lot. Again, I wish the Zeppelis didn't have to die in every single part that they're in. I would have loved to see like a part 3 or part 4 Caesar. That would have been awesome, but a boy can dream.
Man, I love Lisa. Truly the great waifu.
You know,
but
that leads me to my next question. Any waifus or husbandos for you from this show?
Yeah, Lisa and Joseph, for sure. Just those two.
I see, so you're going with the incest as wincest angle here.
Oh, no, not them together. I don't want to have like a 3-way there.
No, I'd have to...
One at a time.
One at a time. One after the other, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, who you taking first?
Then, I'll take Jojo first so I can save my dessert for last.
I feel you gotta save the true snack for later. As far as me, husbandos and waifus, probably Caesar and Lisa.
You weren't feeling Susie Q?
No, I mean, even though I picked Caesar, I'm not a fan of blondes. There's just something about Caesar that gets me going.
Susie Q's accent would just kill it completely.
Yeah. Did you were there any standout moments for you in the show?
I will say that overall, as good overall as it is, I feel like it doesn't, like, at least for part 1 and part 2, I don't feel like there were a lot of like good emotional moments for me. Like I know in Attack on Titan, I told you I had a couple that really got the emotions flowing, but I think in this one there weren't really very many, other than it was kind of cool when they played like the part 1 intro when he was killing cars.
Yes.
It was like,
oh, that was good.
That was pretty hype.
That was good.
I did not exactly get the feels of the moments because, quite honestly, I didn't feel like we got to get personal enough with the characters in these.
That is true. These first two parts are very quick moving. A lot of stuff happens every episode. Sometimes so much so that, like in Attack on Titan, there's so much going on that it's hard to feel like I should care about the characters some of the time.
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely missing that sort of cool moment that I got at the end of season 2 of Attack on Titan. I was definitely missing that feeling for this one.
That's fair.
And
Hopefully, part 3 will be able to fix that a little bit for you. I think the ending to that's pretty strong.
yeah, well, I've already had it spoiled that Jotaro lives. Unfortunately.
Yes.
Not unfortunately that he lives, just unfortunate that reading the first few pages of part 4 let me know that.
Yeah.
I thought Josuke would just be on his own.
Part 4 is a bit of a different part than part 3, 2, and 1, to be honest.
Part 4 also just, there's this little kid that looks like blue-haired Poco, and I'm interested to find out who that is.
Oh, Koichi?
Maybe. He, walks around and he's, a quarter of the height of Josuke.
Yeah, that's Koichi. I love Koichi.
Yeah, I was curious what this little bugger's up to with his toothpaste hair.
Hey, we'll find out here in a little bit. But, any final thoughts? Oh, I guess I should give you my final thoughts and stuff, since you just gave us ours.
Yeah.
I haven't said it in a long time, so I'll be that annoying JoJo fan. Watch JoJo's, please. Don't skip parts. Just watch it. It is honestly really good. It's a fun show. Depending on how easily you get attached, some of the characters may stand out, but if you love action, if you love uniqueness, good music, and honestly, like Jacob was saying, sexual posing, just check out JoJo's. It is a wild ride, and there's really not another show out there like it.
I beg to differ. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Kingdoms is real close.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I will rewatch Yu-Gi-Oh, but I don't think it's gonna. The fight
style is very similar.
Oh,
they don't have the sexual poses, but there's at least for part 2, it's very much like it because you've got all these Egyptian themes and Egyptian gods that are kind of like the Pillarmen.
Yeah, that is true. Those are there. So, I miss my obelisk.
Part 2 really gives me the Yu-Gi-Oh vibes.
Really, I would imagine part 3 would give you bigger Yu-Gi-Oh vibes because they do go to Egypt.
And they do have stands, which are more similar to Yu-Gi-Oh than... I do get some Yu-Gi-Oh vibes from that one too. They are very... I would not say they're identical, but they are very comparable.
Okay.
For Duelist Kingdom. The later ones, not at all. Like GX, 5Ds, all those later ones.
Well, maybe I will have to... I think
you said you're only...
Yeah, I've only experienced Duelist Kingdom.
Yeah, but...
And that was years ago at this point.
A lot of similarity. There is a lot more depth to the antagonists in JoJo's, which is why it is overall much better.
Oh, JoJo antagonists are... You know what, we're gonna have to just watch those parts so I can just gush about some of these antagonists. Even some of the minor ones.
You get as much or more time developing the antagonist as you do with the protagonists, and that is how you make
it's very
interesting fights with outcomes that you care about.
Yes, very much so. But if you had to score JoJo's Bizarre Adventure of what we've watched so far, what would you score it?
I'm gonna give part 1 and part 2 an 8 incestuous relationships out of 10.
Okay. I like that.
How about you?
Let's see. Judging them together is going to be a little tough because I did defend part 1 because I think part 1's good. I think all JoJo's good, but I do like part 2 a whole lot more than part 1, to be fair. Like, there's a pretty decent gap between my enjoyment. But I think with everything considered, I think I'm going to give JoJo's part 1 and part 2 8.5 of my final Hamans with cheese out of 10.
Are you saying you're a Zeppeli?
Am I saying I'm a Zeppeli?
Giving your final Haman to them?
Will you take the last of my Haman, Jacob?
I will, and I will use it to defeat the Pillarmen.
Thank you. But
now, be sure to tune in next week, where we will have some more gushing over a great anime. What are we watching next week, Alex?
We are watching the sci-fi anime classic Steins Gate. So hopefully we can stay on the correct world line so the episode can be up in time. But until next week, if the people want to find you, where can they find you, Jacob?
You can find me on Twitter at TastefulToePicks. Or you can also check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/BambiRaptor_. What about you?
If the people want to find me, they can find me at youtube.com/creampuff. Or you can find me at Twitter at NihauZeppeli. And of course, you can always reach out to us at the Anybody's Twitter. Just type in Anybody's in the search bar, and we should pop up right there at the top.
That's at Buddies Annie.
That is at Buddies Annie. I found the person I found the Anybody's person. They haven't been active since 2012, man. 2012.
And I believe they are Russian.
Yeah, so I have no idea if we're ever actually going to get that real app, but I'll search around to see if I can find a better one for us. But until next week, everybody have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.